as Rachel mentioned, is about family and friends lending. But before we get into what Namma is, I wanted to quickly touch base on my background and my vision. I'm sorry, what's going on? Okay. I want to quickly touch base on what my background is and what my vision for Namma is. And then we'll go into what Namma is really and what the product is. And then we'll speak about, because I know everybody's interested in how did I actually get this built and how I went about doing it technically, resource-wise, etc. And then what's next for Namma. So let's talk a little bit about the background. So like as Rachel mentioned, I worked at all of these companies that she mentioned. But what my role over there was, I was mostly in engineering throughout, pretty much through the 21 years, except for the last few years when I decided to start segueing a little bit more into smaller startup-y sort of ventures where I could learn a little bit more about the other parts of the business, right? So I wanted to be curious about like brand and marketing and, how the business side of the things work. So that's, my experience a little bit helped over there, thankfully, to start with Namma. Also, I was very involved in always translating customer requirements into product features. So again, that has helped me a lot with Namma as well, starting where I did 7 months back. So how did the idea actually come to my mind, and how did I actually go about doing it? So in 2015, I was going through a personal difficulty, and I was going through a bit of an emotional situation at the time as well. And I still wanted to go ahead and buy my own house. It was my need at that point. And I had a pretty good financial record, but at the same time, just the whole process of like getting a mortgage, even though I'd done it before, just the whole process of getting a mortgage, all that paperwork and everything just made me realize that I wish I could just ask, some of my family members to like pool in and give me like, maybe the down payment for my mortgage, or even like the full mortgage, because like I was giving the down payment anyway. And I was like, but I can't even do that. Like, even if I did, I wouldn't get any credit score. They would think that I'm just like trying to ask them for free money. It was just very, very awkward. And even they would want some sort of a security, right? Like, and how would we go about doing it? Like making this relationship translate into something more formal. That in a sentence is like the gist of Namma, right? So that the fact that I wanted to have this vision and mission to make family and friends lending possible. Now let's talk about the problem statement here, right? So also the current landscape. So it turns out, based on some research that has been done, as well as a few surveys I got done with a few users, family and friends lending happens all the time. 88 million Americans engage yearly in this process. And that's because, when you need something quickly, you go to your family, and your family actually does end up helping you, at these kind of times. And also, it's quick. It's, you're more than your credit score when you go to them. Also, when you go to a formalized bank situation, it's going to be a long drawn process, right? So, you're in for something more tedious. But the problem with family and friends lending is that it's extremely awkward. It's very informal. There are no loan contracts mostly drawn up. You end up, even if you negotiate terms, you end up negotiating them verbally. Like, you never keep track of like, did you actually pay me this month or not? And personal credibility, like I said, is left off the table. So if you're a college student that just came out of college, and we know you have great potential as your family, we'd love to lend you money. But most of the times banks are only going to look at like you as a credit score, which you don't have at that moment. So again, personal credibility is a big one that's left off the table. So this is, in a gist, the vision and mission. Let's make it less taboo. Let's make it easy. Let's make it clean. Let's make it transparent. And family and friends lending should be a very, very viable option next to your, formal lending platforms out there. So that is Namma. How did I actually go about building this? And let's go into a little bit about the product here. I can show you quickly what the product is, and that should give you an idea of where, how it was actually ended up realized, how it ended up being realized through these last couple of years of getting built. So before we get into what that is, just remember that the loan life cycle is like, these 8 or 9 different steps, right? Where you think about a loan, you approach a lender, you agree on the terms, you end up signing something, then that person transfers you the money, then you start paying back every month, and then you want to make any changes after that as well, you should be able to do it. So Namma is currently, as you can see on the left side, there are 2 aspects that it tackles, which is, sorry, my screen is jumping around for some reason. Okay, let's go back here. It goes into 2 different aspects of the product, right? So right now you can agree to the loan. 2 people can actually agree to the loan and sign on it. And also it starts sending you reminders every month based on your loan agreement. So those are the 2 things it tackles. In the future, Namma does have a roadmap to tackle other parts of the loan process, to say like, how about we do a bank payment? We handle your bank payments, or if you want to make a change along the way, we should be able to make that change. Let's say you want to skip 1 month's payment and so on and so forth. Because these all things can be done because you are your lender, your borrower kind of thing. So this is a quick product demo. It's a 1-minute demo. What it's really going through is how a process, how a person approaches actually a loan agreement on Namma. So this person has come in as a lender. They're filling up their loan terms and saying, this is what I'm going to lend, with my terms, this % of interest and so on and so forth. I'm going to give this loan to my sibling who's at so-and-so email address. And I reside at this and this email address, physical address, because you need that on the loan agreement. And they just send it over to the other person, right? The other person then gets an email. They review the terms, they can change them, right? Because, we're 2 people here, right? And you can actually go back and forth. You negotiate and you sign, and then the initiator gets their final loan agreement, and they've seen that the borrower has already signed, and they finish signatures, and they're done. That's it. That is the product right now. It's live on namma.co if you guys want to try it out. Also, this is the product till date in screenshot format if that went too fast for you. But these are 3 different steps right now. It's a free product at the moment. And like I said, to summarize, it gives you a signed loan agreement with your contracts. You can also fill up like an optional loan clause in the agreement if the agreement is not, it has all the basic clauses you need in a loan agreement, and then you can add 1 more clause to it. Let's jump into how I technically went about this, right? So like I said, my background has been computer science, and I did my master's from Carnegie Mellon in software, in IT with a specialization in software engineering as well. I'd worked in the industry for a long time, and Google Cloud Platform was my stack of choice. It also ended up being the stack of choice for the 2 engineers I had who were going to help me part-time. So we ended up doing pretty much everything in that ecosystem. We built our database in PostgreSQL. Our authentication was in Firebase, and also our front end and back end is actually an app engine service. Front end is built in React.js and back end is built in Node.js. And then we have some cron jobs that are going on for notifications. So that's it. It's a pretty simple system, and based on what numbers you're going to see, it can handle those very well so far. And yeah, so that's the technical stack. Now let me get into how it is I ended up going from the journey of like, how do I want to build this thing? Like, who are the people I want to put together and the resources and so on and so forth. So I was actually working full time when Namma got built. This was till like January of 2021. And I was, we were building this nights and weekends. So I ended up acting as the product manager, as well as all sorts of odd jobs here and there. But there was a full-time engineer, there was a front-end engineer, there was a back-end engineer who were both working part-time nights and weekends. I had a part-time lawyer because we needed to get the loan agreement drafted, as well as Namma is a very, very sensitive product in the sense that anytime something belongs in the fintech space, I do have this lawyer who can help me out with all those legalities of the things. I also decided to get a proper branding exercise done for Namma because it is a very, very critical product for like, to be able to touch somebody to say that, okay, I know this is taboo, but let's see how this person approaches it, right? Like, how is this product speaking to me to say, should I use it or should I not? So did branding, UX was also done with a consultant on the team. In terms of capital, so like I said, I was working, I self-funded the product build, and obviously, and after that, fortunately, we have a couple of investors that we are working with, always looking for more, but like that's where it helped this year to get through Namma's work and Namma's traction. Also, some decisions were taken to like go quick, right? Obviously, like, we're not here to build another e-sign platform, or we're not here to build another ACH transfer platform. So obviously we had to use SaaS integrations. And I'm very open to doing that even in the future for like any credit related integrations that we are planning on doing. Okay, so let's go to our traction, because this is the most exciting part. We launched last year in August 2020, and very quickly realized that the product was really not speaking to the audience. The audience thought that it was something else, and they thought it was a loan giving product. So we brought it down in October. We had a few signups, but nothing material happened out of those. Brought it down, revamped the homepage, revamped the whole like copy of it, and started again in January. And so far, our progress has been quite rewarding. And we also have really good customer feedback that's pouring in. So customers have said, you are more versatile than the other options out there. And there are some other options out there. They are like, when are you giving us our next feature? Like, when can we do bank-to-bank transfers through you, and so on and so forth. So these are the metrics so far. Like I said, it is a free product. It's pre-revenue right now. My traction is mostly in the numbers of how many people are actually using it. And that was the first phase, right? We wanted to break through the barrier of saying, this product's never going to work, to actually even saying, oh, there is a market for it, right? And that's the initial stage that we were trying to prove out. So the amount of loans that have been transacted on Namma so far have been a total of 889K. And these numbers are as of July 31st. I'm not counting August numbers. Our CAC has been dropping, and the total number of contracts so far have been 66 on Namma. As you can see, the last 3 months are the ones that are actually showing progress. Before that, it was pretty up and down. Like, I also did not mention that I was doing marketing for Namma, and I was learning it along the way. So the first few months did take some learning to get there as well. These are the in future roadmap features. Like I said, we are looking to get a lot more going on in terms of loan servicing post the loan has been transacted on Namma. Automated bank transfers are a big one, and we need to get that done quickly, so that we can then keep track of whether the money exchanged hands, and that unlocks a whole set of features, like whether we can give credit reporting or allow you to change in flight, whether you don't want to pay or pay, and things like that. One thing I'd really love to do in the future is go global with it. As a lot of us know, if you have anybody who's like from other parts of the world, this is a thing that happens everywhere. We do lend money to our family and friends across the world, even across borders. So this is something I would really love to get going for the future. And last but not least, and it's gifted, how can you help? So first of all, if you have any suggestions or improvements around Namma, even if you don't like the idea, and if you've had this problem in the past and had a friction with it, just send us an email. I would love to know what's going on and if there were any pain points. And we'd love to get connected to more people, right? So more engineers, more finance and lending specialists, anybody in that area who could be a part of the team to help us brainstorm through things. And any other fellow entrepreneurs that you know of that might be curious, might want to partner. I think that's it for me. And I am going to hand it over to Hyung-won. Thank you so much for listening. Actually, maybe we should do a Q&A round, right?
Yes, we'll do quick Q&A now. So Doug and I asked the first two questions, so I'll combine them. So we're kind of wondering what changed about the product between August 2020 and Jan 2021 that led to this growth. And then mine was kind of related. And I was just wondering what marketing strategies you found to be most successful during that time when you had that upward curve.
Got it. So August 2020 to Jan 2021, basically the product's homepage looked different. So it was like, people came in and it was very vaguely worded. So people thought that, this was like a lending platform for them, like somebody was going to give them money. So that is what changed mostly. So we just took down the product and we just reworded the entire homepage, made a product and pricing section, like added a lot more images and content to depict that. After January, for the first few months, I was the only person I'm the only person in Namma at the moment who's working full time. I had a part-time marketing consultant, and we were trying out different things. So we were like, let's try out Facebook, let's try out Google Smart campaigns, let's try out display campaigns, and so on and so forth. And then we realized that this is a product, and again, this is a whole another story, but like I could speak to 10 minutes on this, but like I sat down and I decided that I'm going to learn like how this marketing funnel works. And turns out that when you're in this marketing funnel, I wanted to target the people who are at the lowest part of the funnel. So who are actually looking for a loan agreement. So forget the people who don't even know about Namma or who think even there is a way to do this with family and friends. They are too far away right now in my reach, right? So then I started search campaigns on people who were just looking for loan agreements. And that's what clicked. And then I also started speaking to some people who actually converted. Fortunately, my first few users were very friendly. They wanted to talk to me. And this has happened with Namma. It's very polarizing. Some people really want to talk to me. Some people just don't. Regardless of how much money I'm willing to give them via a gift card, like it doesn't matter. Also, so the first few people, they were like, oh, this is exactly what I was looking for, and, your loan agreement works for us. And why don't you increase it to 100K? Like, I was like, oh my God, like, if you got the market right, you really got it right. So I was like, let me just narrow it down to where they really need it. And we'll get to the rest, right? Because I was just trying to validate that there is a product. So it's been a lot of learning on that marketing funnel. And now I'm a little bit up on the marketing funnel. So I have those campaigns running for loan agreements, but now I've started funding some display campaigns just to say on YouTube and stuff like that, saying, hey, have you ever had a problem? Like, Namma can help. And that has now started showing me some results, but that takes like a couple of months to start converting. Like people have to see that 5 times, 6 times to like it to register in your head. But that's been my marketing learning growth.
Awesome, thank you. I'm now going to bring Andrew to ask his questions.
Oh, hello. I was curious about the paid features. You had some numbers there for how much things will cost, and I'm curious how you arrived at those numbers.
So so the way I've arrived at that numbers is because I've done some, so first of all, I have a lot of data as to how many users there are currently, what kind of loans they've done, and what their average monthly payment is, right? So first things first, my criteria is that this payment amount should not hurt you, right? Like you shouldn't be like, it shouldn't deter you from using Namma. So let's say if you're doing $120 monthly payment, it's okay if I charge you like, $7 or $8 to handle your money transfer, because it's a very small percentage and it still works with my margin. So that's one thing. The second thing is that I'm looking at, because there is no other competition. You can imagine like this is like in their mind, they're looking at, this is a free thing I could do versus this is like, Namma is going to start charging me for like managing this transaction. It's a little bit of a testing situation here as well. Also, one more thing. And also you have to try to look at how much are they going to pay a personal loan lender. Like, so let's say if I were to get a $5,000 loan from like a personal loan lender, how much am I really paying in terms of like origination fee and blah, blah, blah. As long as I'm below that, and as long as they can get a very suitable interest rate from their lender, I think it's a win-win. So that's the way I'm approaching it. And I am just releasing my first revenue feature in a month or so. And I'm going conservative on it just to make sure that I don't deter anybody. But I know there are people who have actually reached out to say, if you give me more services, I will pay, because I want my daughter to learn that she needs to like get credit and like pay back the money and things like that. So there are parents who really are willing to pay because they are lending money to their children and they want to teach them something.
Yeah, that's a fascinating use case. My next question was around the segments of the market that maybe were interested in your product. And like, yeah, parents teaching kids like, hey, here's how you spend money wisely and things like that. Like, here's how you keep track of payment systems. I think that's a great one. So curious if you found any other interesting use cases that are like specific
Yeah.
and cool that are that you can hammer on.
So yeah, so I want to target, right now when you use Namma, you can pick like, what are you using it for? Like, are you using it to pay bills? Are you using it to like pay mortgage? I've added wedding loans recently, like just because I want users to tell me what they're like, using it for. So the most, believe it or not, cars are a big one. Like pay for your car is turning out to be like a decent one, especially because like when people are buying used cars or something like that and they're like in a fix and they need it. That's one. Student loan is not getting used a lot. So I know that that's not the case, but that's because I'm not even targeting like the student market yet, right? Like I said, I'm just running Google campaigns. So that's the one market I would really like to go after, to say, if you've already started working and you're in the industry for 4 to 5 years, you want to pay back your high interest student loan, like find an uncle or an aunt who, you can actually convince that you are good enough and, can actually loan you that money. So there are lots of segments out there which I think would benefit. But if you do the market research, just pure market research, I'm going by my gut, but like if you look at pure market research, people usually use it for like paying bills and short term, like mortgage and rent. But I'm not seeing just that. I'm seeing a lot more cases. And so it's kind of interesting as to where it's going so far. Again, I only have a very small sample size, not enough to judge anything. It's 66 people. But I need to, accelerate and see where that goes.
Cool,
Awesome.
thank you.
Jahan, I think I saw your hand raised, so wanted to call in you and see if you had a question.
Yes, hi, thanks a lot. I had a quick question. You mentioned briefly about the branding exercise that you went through it, especially when you want to launch it and relaunch it. I was wondering if you could potentially elaborate on that one. What was the exercise, or if it's a tool or a third party that you use? I appreciate if you can share that.
So I have an ex-colleague who's actually a brand lady, I call her. She's amazing. So and I had worked with her. So the way the branding exercise works is that they actually, so we sat down, both of us, and she was like, what do you want Namma to be? And I started telling her about my vision and my mission. And she was like, do you want it to be, so let's come up with personalities for Namma. Like, let's say Namma was a human. Like, would it be aggressive? Would it be honest? Would it be like cheeky? Like, so that's how branding exercises work, right? So we came up with these 5 attributes for Namma. And then we discussed names. Like Namma was not even my original thought for a name. We ended up landing on that name because it's like the emperor who built the first legal contract, which was like another geek story for me. I loved it. So there are lots of things you go into when you're thinking about branding. Like, how do you want to touch the other person? Like, do you want to be uplifting, or do you want to be like, just straightforward? Like, so there are lots of discussions that you do. It's a very verbal, like thinking and sitting and writing down adjectives and verbs exercise. And that's your brand, like how you want to put forward. Then we go into like the visualizations, right? Like what colors you like, and like how do you want your design to be, and things like that. That's another story. So I didn't use a tool. Since I was working with her, she helped me with my branding and my UX and my design eventually.
Any chance you would, I can send you a message, maybe you can share this branding lady with me. I mean the name of this.
Yes, absolutely. She does consulting work at this point. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'll get in touch with you somehow on outside. I'll try to find your LinkedIn or something. I'll send you.
Perfect.
Get connected. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm not doing the video.
It's okay. I get it. Don't worry.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome. We'll go to our last question here. So I'll bring on Hardik.
Thank you. So I want to understand like how far out into the process would you start thinking about monetization, and at what point you would actually start implementing those monetization strategies. And also the second question that I had for you was in regard to the first release in August 2020. You said you got feedback about the product not being actually perceived as what it should be. So I'm curious as to, was that based on user interviews or user feedback, or did you have some sort of indicators through the app or the website to tell you that?
Yeah. First question about monetization. I don't know. I personally am a strong believer that you need to get revenue as soon as possible. And I think that's what I've heard across the board from all my advisors as well. Though one of my advisors was like, first get your customers and then you'll figure out how to monetize it. But again, there's, I think, a balance, right? Like, I don't think, like, if I would have put monetization last year when I first launched, I wouldn't have even gotten one customer because like the product wasn't working. You see, so you have to at least get some customers and they have to like the product and they have to like, and now I know if I put in monetization, it'll work because they're asking for these, they're asking to pay for a service. So for me, it's been that, right? Last year, it was actually paid. When I first launched it, it was like $30 for the contract. That's how I started. And I did not get any customers. And in fact, they thought that they were going to like get loan from somebody else. So the indication last year was, and then I removed that monetization very quickly. First, I launched it, removed that monetization within like 2 weeks because it wasn't happening. Then I realized that people are just signing up, but they're not going through the flow. And obviously I had analytics and everything set up. So like nothing was happening. So then within a month, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I spent $3,000 already on marketing. Nobody was converting. That's not possible, right? Like something has to go somewhere through the funnel. Then I used these websites for user testing. I forget which one I ended up using, Userbrain, I think. And then I conducted that survey. Like I asked, I said, put up a set of questions, and that's when my users were like, and I actually asked targeted questions saying, what do you think Namma is? And they were like, oh, I don't know. Is somebody supposed to give me a loan here? Like, and they were speaking out loud, and those videos get recorded. I don't know if you've ever used one of those sites, but like, that's when I found out that that's what people are thinking. Then I also actually just tapped 5 of my friends who are like in the product area. And I was like, I need to show you my website. And I just like did the same thing with them for like an hour. So I used whatever like people were willing to like give me time. And they were like, this is not clear. This is not clear. Can you change this? Can you change that? And whatever made sense to me, I changed. So I think that's how I found out. Because I'll tell you that when I started in January, within a month, I had 1 conversion and I had spent, I think, $250. So it's not like, at a certain point, you will see something happen if your product is right. That's what I believe. And again, I'm a first-time founder, so don't take my word as like, set in stone, but.
Well,
Cool.
that's inspiring. Thank you.
Yeah.